Hey everybody, this is TJ with Trend Jumper. Just put up a couple trade plans for the DAX and for the EuroBund, and I thought it might be helpful to walk through some of these trades in a video format just to kind of give you a feel for the trade plan and how and why it is working so well. So let's just get started. I thought I would show you the last several sessions, starting with the EuroBund. This is a really great market to be trading. It's just really dependable. Many times you're going to get your trading done in the first trade. All right, I want to go back to 2 Thursdays ago. You'll remember that we were actually not trading that day because we were all eating turkey. This was Thanksgiving. But in Europe, it was not a holiday. In fact, the markets were trading. And the EuroBund had no problems hitting its goals. So hopefully by now you can recognize what this blue trade is. Crossover trade. The entry's at 142.20. Whenever you see that, you're going to make the 1 tick adjustment. So the entry really is going to be at 142.21. That should just become automatic. We're going to try to get to the third target. It got to the second target. You see that? Whenever it gets to the second target, you want to lock in a tick. Now I'm going to put my stop at 1422, even though I adjusted, so it's really like I'm locking in 2 ticks from the unadjusted entry. But I just don't consider 142.20 an entry. I never do. My entry is 142.21. So the stop is right there. And it pops down, and that trade only gets us 1 tick per position. And that's not good enough for power of quitting. My power of quitting requires that I get to at least within 1 tick of the full target. I want to get to the full target, but I allow a little bit of room for margin of error. 1 tick, basically. So I have to keep trading. I have to take a second trade. And that one comes here. Another crossover, this time to the short side. The entry is at 142.11. And again, if I'm on the 11, I'm going to push it down to the 09. And I realize that that's going to move it down to that first target. That's going to happen sometimes. Okay, you may decide in this case not to, only because this puts you on a swing level. You see, so you're kind of adjusting off of a key level and hitting another key level. This is one of those nuanced art to trading things. A lot of times when I see that, I won't make the adjustment because I don't want to go 3 ticks on this market. It's too much. Unless it's just a big trade and an obvious chart level. So I'm not going to come down to here. You have to decide if you're going to adjust off the 11, or maybe in this case you just leave it at the 11. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer, but for the sake of what I'm doing and to keep things consistent, I just moved it down to the 9. And had no problem popping through. Gave away 2 ticks for nothing in essence. And it came down and hit the full target. So one of the things you might think of is adding the adjustment to the target. If you're going to adjust it down 2 ticks, put 2 ticks on the back end and make up for it. There's nothing that stops you from doing that. Okay, I'm not doing that either because, again, I'm just trying to keep things really simple. So when I hit the full target here, because of my adjustment, that trade literally only got 4 ticks. But that was the full target. And it was a holiday in the US anyway. Then it came up and stopped out. Once I got to the full target, I don't want to take a loss. So I'm putting my trade in with a 1 tick gain. And the session finished only picking up 7 ticks. But you know what? You take what the market will give you, and that's fine. It was a winning session, 7 ticks. It's 10 euros per tick. Some of that's going to offset trade costs, but that's how that session played out. And I wanted to walk you through that so that you could start thinking about some of these subtleties, because this is how you're going to step it up and master the system and take it to the next level. All right, so remember we're starting at 9 a.m. Here's Friday the 23rd. And this trade here was at 9:23, so that was your first trade, and it was a long. at 142.21. Hopefully you recognize the yellow jump, right? That's the jump off of your yellow line. Notice that it had no problems getting to its full target. You're going to see this happening a lot on the first trade. And that one went from 142.21 to 142.27. It was good for six ticks, 60 euros. But then look what happened. You're going to see this a lot. Remember, we're trailing that jump line. You're going to find lots of add-on possibilities here. You may decide at some point you want to work those into your trading. That one would have been a full winner. This one would have been a break even because you would have hit the money management level and stopped out for a break even. Okay, so I'll point those out, not counting them. This one got out not at 142.36. I mean, you could have taken it at 36, maybe working around your 5s and 0s on your stops when trailing. Maybe that's just not necessary, but I'm just doing what I do with all the markets. My stop was at 34 because the jump line was at 38. Normally I'd stop out 2 ticks below that at 36, but when I'm on a 6, I'm going to adjust it below the 5. And you'll see me do this on everything. So 142.34 is where I took that exit, but that was good for another 13 ticks. So not a bad session all in all. 19 ticks, 2 easy trades, 190 euros. And so from one session to the next, you could just see the dynamics of power of quitting. Taking what the market wants to give you, allowing yourself to quit positive and move your account forward on most sessions. Isn't that what trading is all about? It's about making money. Don't forget, that is the end goal, making money. So you could just hear the cha-ching happening over and over again. Sometimes, let's say you're running a store, for example. You're going to sell somebody a can of soda or a lollipop. Okay? You're going to make a few pennies. Other times, you're going to sell them a new refrigerator, and you're just going to make a bigger chunk of change. You got to think of your trading like that too. As long as you're ringing the register, that's what counts. That's what makes success. I'm going to quickly go through the next week. It was a perfect week. 1 trade, 1 win, Monday through Friday to finish the month. All right, so here we are on Monday the 26th. We have this trade here that was too early. It jumped in, and it was after. I mean, maybe it happened intra-bar. I don't know that. So I'm only going on the close of the bar. It's possible that it turned 9 and then the trade may have triggered in, and if so, it was a full winner because you can get in sync with this trade. But because I wasn't there and I didn't know for sure, I counted the next trade. I'm just confident in trend jumper setup, so for me it doesn't matter. It's a jump trade off of the jump line, 142.31, right? Adjusting up off the 0. Trying to get to 142.40, nice 10 tick move. Right here, when it gets to this level, pushing that stop up to 142.32 right there. It pushes up, gets to within 1 tick of the full target. It gets as high as 142.39. So no matter what happens with this trade, worst case scenario, I'm going to get out of this trade with 1 tick. But it's power of quitting for me, because I got to within 1 tick of the full target. This counts as a full winner, regardless of the outcome. Hopefully it's going to move higher. I could scalp out one of my positions maybe, since I just missed the target. But this trade's kind of small. I mean, really it's only 10 points, 9 when you count the adjustment. So I'm just content with my one tick lock-in. But each and every one of you are going to have to decide how you would trade this. It does come down and ultimately stop out for only 1 tick. And that's all it made. I mean, that was a session. And again, sometimes you sell a lollipop, and that's what happened on Monday the 26th. And then on 27th, well, in this case, we sold the refrigerator. Got the long at 9.23. 142.16, no adjustment necessary. Targeting 142.30. Took a little heat. Had a possible stop and reverse. We don't see that very often. The stop, let's talk about the stop for a minute. The stop, notice it's at 142.05. Is that where we're going to keep our stop? Hopefully by now you know it isn't, right? We're going to move it down off of the 5 to 142.04 because that's what we do. We don't even think about it. It's a key level adjustment. Look what happens. The market comes down to 142.05, bounces off of the 5, and this is why we make these key level adjustments. This is why it's written into the trade plan. Comes back up. You have the possibility for an add-on here. Keeps inching higher. A couple more add-on possibilities. This add-on hit full target. These add-ons hitting money management levels for risk-free trades. And of course the full target being reached on the original trade. The key level adjustment being critical to the success of this trade and this session. The trade picks up 14 points, and the trailer, it's kind of a sloppy grind higher. Some really nice add-on possibilities, but it ultimately stopped out for 13 ticks. So 27 ticks on this session in one trade. Okay, yesterday, again, we sold, a peanut butter sandwich. Today we sold a prime rib dinner. However you want to look at it, keep in mind, power of quitting is dynamic. As long as you keep ringing the cash register, that's what really matters. Let's go on to the next session. Next session, this trade was too early. This trade here, 922, triggers in 142.56, right? A one tick adjustment. And that one popped up and hit the full target. That was good for 5 ticks, 142.61. It came down and stopped out for only 1 tick gain on the trailer. 6 ticks. And that's a tuna fish sandwich today being sold. And yet you could hear the register go cha-ching. Next day on the 29th, this was Thursday, you have your jump off of the yellow line. 142.79 is going to be your entry. 1 tick adjustment, small trade going down to 74. Boom, no problem. Trailed down to here for a nice little additional bonus to end the session. And it ultimately stopped out at 142.72 right up here because we were making our stop off of this bar. This was the last bar to close below the jump line, 142.70. So 2 ticks above that, 142.72. That was good for another 7 ticks and 12 ticks on the session, and that led us into the final session Friday. Zoom on over. And this one was a really nice trade. This is a trade off of a jump trade off of the pink line, 142.89. I'm going to get in at 91. So I'm adjusting around the yellow line and around the 90. This one, notice that the stop is perfectly placed. It's going to be down here at 79, not at 80. And it's pretty messy, but it does pop up right here on a burst, and it touches the exit. Now, if you don't get filled, you got to make sure you're quick on the draw to get out of that trade. That trade was good for 8 ticks, and then it stopped out for only 1 tick on the runner. So 9 ticks for that session. And all in all, 5 trades made 56 ticks, and that's good for 560 euros. I mean, 560 euros for 5 easy trades, basically. That's what I love about the EuroBund. Really great market to trade. I'm sure there are other time frames, maybe some that would do better. Maybe a momentum bar would be worth looking at, but the 233 tick has proven very resilient, at least in the month of November, where it won 81.5% of all its trades. And I also put the DAX trade plan up, so we'll just look at a couple quick sessions. This one works pretty much the same way. You might have to make slightly larger adjustments to accommodate the dynamics of this market. We're going to start at 908. 73.93.5, that's the entry. You got 73.94.5 as a swing level here. Probably important to adjust around that, except it doesn't trigger in. But you're going to want to look over to see those swing levels right there. You want to get above that. That's worth a 3-tick adjustment. You're always going to want to do that. 7395.5. Moot point. Trade ends up canceling, and instead you get a setup where the adjustment's made for you, because that's going to make new highs. And that one does trigger in, takes a few bars, but it gets in. 7398.5, targeting 7405.5. Do you want to make a 4-tick adjustment to get above 7400? You know, you might, except that it's a very small trade and it's already breaking through a swing level. So I'm just not going to make that adjustment. If it was a big trade and the adjustment was a much smaller percentage of my overall objective, I probably would make it. Okay, again, that's the 5% art. It does pop up. It hits the target. That was good for 7 points. 7 points at 25 euros per point, not 7 ticks. A tick is a half a point. That is 7 points right there. And then it comes down and stops out. Actually, it stops out here. You got to use the reading of the jump line based on the last closed bar above it. Okay, so this one closed above it, 7406.5, but this one closed on it. I don't consider that. It has to close above it. Okay, so my stop is going to be at 7401.5. So it came down here and stopped out for 3 points. That's 75 euros. Ultimately, the trade got 10 points. And that's it. Power of quitting 1. Let's go to Friday. All right, so here we are. Last day of the week, last day of the month. 10 a.m., 11:30, 2012. And we've got a trade at 74.24. But look at the swing level, 74.25. It's also on a major key level of 25. It's a bigger trade. Definitely making a 3-tick adjustment on this one. Just not going to really fuss too much. I mean, that just seemed like a pretty obvious. But look, it broke through anyway. Just missed the money management level by 1 tick right here. So I'm not moving my stop. If this is a big trade, I'd move my stop, but it's just an average trade. It's not that big. And the stop holds barely. For me, I'm actually going to move my stop down to here also. It ended up being a moot point, but I'll do the same thing with stops as I do on entries. The stop is at 74.155. No, not for me. I'm going to go down to 74.145, and it just so happens that swing level is at 74.14. So I'm actually going to go down to 74.135. It's a full 2-point adjustment. But I just find that I'm willing to give up 2 extra points of risk because many times it makes a big difference. I don't mind losing the extra 2 points when I'm wrong, but when I compare that to what I gain, it's just something I always do. So working around swing levels I think is really important. And the market was very choppy in here. So I just felt better giving it that extra room anyway. But the yellow line held pretty well, and the swing levels kept moving higher. Notice the higher low here, and then the higher low here. Still grinding, still grinding. Finally, it gets up to its full target. This is a long trade. I mean, it took all the way till the afternoon. You know, a couple hours, but the market was really slow. Nevertheless, a win is a win. This one gained 11.5 points, and then it stopped out at at 74.29.5, basically right here, because last bar to close above was this bar, 74.30.5. 2 ticks below that is where it stopped out. One thing you may want to do, and I put this in the trade plan, but when you see an acceleration of the yellow line spreading up and expanding against an uptrend on the pink line, you may want to trail the yellow line and just stay in. Okay, you'll find every now and then you'll pick up a huge runner. In this case, wasn't so huge, would have stopped out here, but just over the last month you'll find cases where you would have made just enormous extra profit with this idea. It's not part of the trade plan, but I did want to point it out to you. Maybe look through your charts and you might find a situation where you recognize it when it's happening and decide, as long as you have a risk-free trade, just going with that yellow line as your trailer. Something to think about. Alright guys, thanks for joining me. I hope you learned something, and I hope you enjoy these two European trade plans, the DAX and the EuroBund. See you next time.